Head women's basketball coach Jonathan Tsipis at the table. Coach, opening thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah, obviously, a new era in Tennessee basketball, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to be at Notre Dame and compete against them. And, obviously, Coach Stevens is doing a great job of implementing the style she wants to play. And, areas that we knew were going to be a concern, obviously taking care of the basketball without our starting point guard, Kinde Abasui, in the game. We really are having to shift some people around. But give all the credit to them. They're very good in their run and jump. They speed you up. They play passing lanes. Obviously, that ignites their offense, and they're tremendous on the offensive glass. I think we look at certain stats and we say, we got them to shoot, under 25% from the three-point line. But again, we allowed them to get 41 attempts, and I think that's a bigger part of the goal is can you limit that more, and can you make them pay for the pressure? And we weren't able to do that, obviously at a competitive level tonight. But again, I think, obviously the depth, we've now played Oklahoma and Tennessee, and both teams are extremely deep. Oklahoma plays just as fast. They don't press. And again, they have a, legitimate All-American post player inside in Reagan Beers. But, again, being able to put a group together when you have a lot of transfers and things like that's a credit to the Tennessee staff. I will say this. I have a group of 12 young women that last year, the returners, they won 6 games at Western Carolina. And it is November 26th, and we've won 5. And we're 5-3, and I've got a group that wants more. I look at that. Can we grow from our Oklahoma game, to the Tennessee game? And that's taking that out of here is the most important thing. And again, the great experience. Not everybody gets to play here in Knoxville. We had a chance to go to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame as well today. Again, I think it's going to be, great to see when Tennessee plays somebody at that same level of athleticism and size, with the rebounding and the pressure, be on that same, and again, obviously they haven't left the confines of Food City Center yet. This is our 6th road game in a row. Welcome to the life of a low major women's basketball program. And I couldn't be more proud of our kids. We played 2 at home, and so we've played 8 games already. And again, hopefully this will make our team more hardened for the games ahead.
Thank you, Coach. Floor is open for questions.
I think you answered 2 of my questions in that opening statement.
There we go. Trying to be efficient.
One was that long road stretch for you. AC Carter, she held her own out there. Just how do you assess her performance tonight?
Well, I think of all of our players, when you've played in the ACC for 4 years, I think there's less of a wow factor of stepping into a place like this and playing against, some of the nation's best athletes and basketball players. So, I think that's the maturity that we ask of AC. In practice yesterday, there's times where she's still working on how to be that alpha that she was in high school. And again, being able to be that hybrid. We play her a lot as a 4th guard when we go really, really small, which we didn't really tonight. We didn't feel we could. She can guard a post player, and she can step out and hit a 3. She can handle the ball. So, again, I think it's really important, her development, not only what she does on the floor, but the maturity she brings, to our younger players of, hey, you know what, it's still a 40-minute game. It's still 5-on-5. I've been really pleased because her voice is very active in practice, too, and trying to get her teammates to keep continuing to get to that level of the bar we're trying to raise, for somebody who's just been a part of our program since June.
Telia Cooper, 55, she's very talented, but just how difficult is she to game plan for with her ability to get to the rim and to kind of score?
Yeah, when she's hitting a 3, it's already a hard matchup as it is, because she's so explosive. She can finish with contact, getting downhill. I feel like she might have a little more freedom in their offense than some of the other players to get to her mid-range game. So that we were trying to take away 1 and 2 first, and then she makes 3 threes in the first half. So, I think it's a credit to the young woman who sat out last year of really learning the game and being a student and continuing to work on her craft. And, There's no question. Like she definitely, I don't think it's all about her scoring too. I think she tries to get other people involved. But she's that, for us, we're hoping that AC Carter's that kind of matchup in the Southern Conference that I think she, Cooper already is at a big time level. So I think you're going to continue to see her game grow. The thing that she does really well for a player who's only played 1 year of college basketball is I don't think she sits out there. Like some of the other games we watched, she's not going to be somebody who goes, 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. She's going to make sure she gets to the line, she gets it in transition. She guards so many different people, and again, that's a credit to her of not settling and having her game be diversified.
Thank you.
Kind of on the same token of game planning, how difficult is it to plan for 2 forwards like Tennessee has, Z Spearman and Jillian Hollingshead, that can play inside but also bounce out and hit it through?
Well, one, you don't know who's going to start. So, I think we've seen the last 2 games, Zenaria Cruz has played really well for us as a 5th-year senior. And I think you have to change, part of your game plan is, first of all, you can't run people back to the paint, because they're running to 5 spots and they're just as likely to shoot a 3 or drive it from that. I feel like Jillian Hollingshead has been playing as long as I've been a head coach. I remember when she was at Georgia, and I think, her game might not match on the 5 spot as the same way, that Spearman is, but I think her physicality is outstanding, and we got to see several of these players up close 2 years ago when I was at Marquette down at the Battle of Atlantis, and you could see, for Jillian, I'm excited because she looks like she's healthy, and I think that knee was bothering her even 2 years ago and when she transferred over from Georgia. But again, she brings a different dynamic to them, to be able to have somebody that can throw it inside or who's there and occupies that space makes it even harder to guard those 4 other people on the perimeter, which is different, obviously than what Spearman does.
Just a random question, because you mentioned Notre Dame. I think you overlapped. I mean, obviously you were there with Muffet McGraw. I think you overlapped with some of Pat Summitt's best years, the Parker years and Hornbuckle and them. Is this your first time at Tennessee without Pat being here? And is that that just feels a little odd?
Yeah. I will say this. I was telling this to Tamika Catchings in our shoot-around today. My very first year at Notre Dame, we had the opportunity to come and we played here. At that point, I think it was still called Thompson Bowling Arena. And one of the, there were 2 things that Coach Summitt, it was just always amazing to me, is one, the next day we played on a Sunday, and on Monday, Coach McGraw and Coach Summitt were on the phone trying to make their teams better. Sharing information, which I was like, I tell you, Coach, this never happens on the men's side after you play a game. But there was that. Always I felt like, I watched Coach McGraw grow into that role even more once we lost Coach Summitt and kind of being that gatekeeper. I also remember Coach Summitt was recruiting Jantel Lavender in Cleveland, and the fans, they got a couple of seats, and I was there recruiting as well. And they brought her 2 seats, one for her pilot and one for herself. And she said, "Please bring us 3 seats." And she made sure I had a seat because she knew why I was there to be able to watch. And I just, again, it's tremendous when you see it from the outside and then you read about her. I think that legacy, I think that meant a lot. The last time I was here is when Coach McGraw got inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Just happened to coincide with the first year that Notre Dame had ever beaten Tennessee, and that was in the Elite 8 in Dayton. And a lot of people would have not shown up or anything. Coach Summitt was front and present. And even today we learned in the Hall of Fame, I didn't know that, they wanted to name that building after her, and she would not allow that. And so they named the rotunda. So I think the bigger picture is both people wanting to make sure and grow our game. And I was lucky enough to work for Coach McGraw. I actually took a couple pictures of things in the Hall of Fame and sent her to her today. And she's like, "Sip, my practice pad." And I was like, "Yep, it's on display." And again, I think the respect the people don't understand from being a player, as Coach Summitt was, to how important she was navigating young women I talked more to Tamika today about her getting her master's at Notre Dame, her taking her business and continuing to do that more than just basketball. And I know that's what Coach Summit is smiling down upon her, looking at that, because ultimately, as much as we're trying to make competitive basketball teams, hopefully my players can look back here and see the experience. They don't have to remember the score, okay? But understanding, like, taking a step of what they can do in the next part of their lives. And I think that's one area Coach Summit doesn't ever get enough credit is she put her program, she put women's basketball ahead of her own program a lot of times, even at their most successful times. Yeah, in 2008, we played Tennessee in the Sweet 16, and Candace Parker could not get that fourth foul. That's what I remember from that. So, but in all seriousness, it's such a special place, and I think no matter who's coaching, this will always be Coach Summit's program.
Last question.
I don't know how to follow that one up. I wanted to ask you about, taking road trips to 2 SEC teams in non-conference play so early. I know, you want to go in and have your team, have the mindset like, hey, we could, upset them, we could, win this game. But is a lot of it about, maybe a mental test for them, like, I want to see what you're made of at this game?
Yeah, ideally, we would have played over this weekend. That's where we were trying to find our last game. And the Oklahoma presented the possibility that they would return to Cullowhee next year, which you just don't see a Power 5 team doing. And we haven't had a Power 5 team play in Cullowhee since 2007. So that worked with that date in a Kids Day game. I just had to make sure it didn't affect us on the front end or the back end. Fortunately, we won the game at Radford, and then we won the game at Upstate after that. So, I think if you're playing these games, I look at it a couple different ways. I know we were able to take 2 players home, Chelsea Wooten back to Oklahoma City, where she grew up. Reagan Trum, who's from Powell, right down the street. Tennessee is going to be an area we're going to recruit heavily. And so you look at it in a lot of different dynamics just besides the opportunity to play a really high-level program. At one point, Oregon wanted to play us. By the time we paid to go all the way out there, I don't think we're probably going to recruit a lot of Oregonians to Western Carolina University. This just makes such more sense. And again, we're able to bring Oklahoma to our place next year, which is a great experience to have a Power 4 team to our place, and continue to look and build, and ultimately for us, how can we get through our 15 non-conference games, which is as many as anybody in the country has because of the size of our conference, how can we play as many different styles to make us prepared for Southern Conference play?
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.